Have you ever wondered how your perspective and meaning you give to things affects what actually happens in your life? Well, stay tuned because in this video I'm going to talk about those very things about perspectives and meaning that you put to things. Hi there, it's Susan. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, just in the current world that we're experiencing and different people's perspectives. People are living in the same experience that you are, but it feels different to them. Did you ever notice that? I'm going to give you a couple examples just of, what it could be. Let's say that when you were 3 years old, you were walking in a field and you stepped on a bee and it stung you, and maybe you had a little allergic reaction, and your parents responded in a scared manner, and you were scared, and it hurt, and it wasn't fun. And then let's fast forward now 20 years and you walk outside and you see a bee. Your immediate reaction might be, oh no, is it going to sting me? Oh no, I don't like bees, I'm scared of bees. And you may want to harm the bee, you may want to kill the bee, you may just want to get the heck away from the bee. And that reaction, that feeling, is going to create a reaction in you that may actually get you stung. Because if you start freaking out, the bee's freaking out, and then maybe you get stung, and it just reconfirms your hatred for bees. Now, let's say you're a child, you grew up around, bees, you sat in fields with bees, and they never bothered you, and, they landed on you, you pet them, never an issue at all with the bees. And let's say, again, fast forward, 20 years, whatever, you walk outside, you see some bees, you're like, oh, the bees, I love the bees. So you're happy to see the bees. It doesn't even cross your mind to harm them. It doesn't cross your mind that they would sting you. And most likely, that's not going to happen. They're not going to bother you. You're not going to bother them. It's going to be a peaceful interaction, and you move on with your day. Do you see how those two events exactly the same for two different people have different outcomes based upon beliefs and feelings and thoughts that are really all just within you? They're based upon memories and experiences that we've had or that we've heard about. It could be something that a parent, a teacher, a coach, a preacher, whatever has told you, or it could be something that actually did happen to you, and just the reactions around it develop that thought or feeling. But if you want to change your life, and maybe you want to change something in your life, maybe you have a fear of public speaking. Try to think about why you have that fear. Did you try it before and it was complete failure? Or if you never tried it because you can't even get to that point because you have the fear before you get to that point, has maybe an opportunity just never came up for you, so it's not even in your perspective? What is it? And if you can go back to a specific moment in time, like maybe in third grade you were giving up to give a presentation and you were so nervous that you peed your pants or you threw up, or something like that happened and it was completely embarrassing, and you don't ever want to feel like that again. You can actually retrain your mind on your own, by yourself. You can retrain your mind to have that moment in time not have the power over your current person now, by doing some practice and going back in and reliving that moment, but then throwing in a different outcome. It's kind of fun. So let's just say that traumatic moment happened. Let's just say you vomited and it was a mess and everybody else was about to vomit and it was like a disaster, okay? And so every time you relive that, you kind of feel a little wheezy. You're like, I'm never doing that again. I was embarrassed. Everyone was either sick or laughing, and, they talked about it for years to come, because I don't know about you, but I went to a really small school, and we remember all those moments of all the children where those certain things happen. It's what it is. So If you go back in those moments and remember that it's only your perspective that you need to worry about. All the other people's perspectives, that's on them. That has nothing to do with the thoughts and feelings you want to connect with that moment. So let's just say that you think clowns are really funny. Some people think they're scary, so if you think they're scary, don't use this one. But let's say you think they're super funny and they make you laugh. So you go back to that moment, and right before you get sick, or right as you're getting sick, like, you turn into a clown. And you're like, oh, that's so funny. Oh my goodness, that's so funny. That made me laugh. Now I'm happy. That felt good. And, that moment, 20, 30 years ago, whatever, didn't really occur that way. But now you're creating that new story inside your body and your mind and your feelings that it did happen that way. Now, depending on the level of traumaticness of, I don't think that's a word, but I'm going to use it, traumaticness of that event, you can change how a similar event's going to feel and how you're going to react to it. You might have to do it a few times, but some little things, like, there's sometimes like such little things that stuck with us that we put so much meaning to for some reason. And then when we go back, and sometimes it could just be going back and looking at it and realizing it wasn't really that big of a deal, and telling yourself that it wasn't really that big of a deal. And I'm not saying to lie to yourself. I'm saying that you want to be able to pull yourself away from that and feel a different, better way. I'm not saying we're going to bury it and forget it, because those come back. I'm literally saying we're going to take the time and the attention to change it into something else. Something that isn't as traumatic, something that doesn't create those same kind of emotions and fear and things for us. So we can go back to that bee moment. Let's say you're the child that got stung and it hurt, and maybe you were allergic, and so yeah, you're super afraid. And rightfully so, because if you were to get, a lot of these things again, chances are if you're allergic, you could have a similar reaction. But if you change that feeling from back then, and the fear and the scared and the pain and the worry and all those things, and you're like, put it in a funny thing, put it in a happy thing. Change the moment to something that's not going to evoke those same negative feelings towards the event. And then the next time you see the bees, possibly, it might take a little time, but you're like, okay, I see the bee. I'm going to walk this way. I'm not going to go try to hold it or pet it or anything like that, because, if it did happen to sting me, that might be bad. But I'm not going to freak out about it. I'm just going to, walk away from it. I've done the same thing with snakes. Like, I'm going to say, like, I am still not a snake person, but they don't scare me like they used to scare me. And I still don't want to pet snake. I still don't really want to pet them or anything. I'm getting there, because I do have a couple of snakes that have frequented my yard where I feel like I could almost, like, maybe handle them, but since I don't fully feel comfortable, my fear is still there a little bit that, I'd probably get bit or something like that, and then that might then re-solidify my fear of them. So I'm not quite there yet, but I'm definitely to the point where if he's right here and I'm right here, no big deal. Where it used to be, if he's right here and I'm right here, I gotta go. But you work through those little things and change your reality to get rid of those things. I mean, maybe you've had, sorry, puppy. Maybe you've had troubled relationships in the past. Maybe you've had traumatic events where you've been hurt really bad. There's all sorts of things that, may have happened to you, but it's that story that you keep with it that keeps you in those moments. And I'm not saying that some of those fears and, things aren't good protection for you, and they made sense at the time, like, oh shit, a train's coming, and you moved out of the way. It's good that you had that fear that a train was coming, but now you can't go within miles of a train track without freaking out. That's not healthy. That's not good. So you can rework those thoughts in your mind to get to a point where you have a healthy understanding of, the danger with the train that could kill you, could hurt you, whatever, but not the unfounded ones of it's that far away and I have to stay that far from it because it's debilitating in other parts of your life. You can't drive your vehicle in certain areas. You can't, take a walk. You can't do all these kind of things because it's debilitated you so far. And we all have these moments. So don't feel like, oh my God, I have so many moments. Like, just work with them as they show back up into your life, and don't just repress them, because that's only going to, like, it's kind of like when the pot's boiling over and you just put a lid and then it keeps doing, it's just bubbling up. But if you open it and you stir it, you're like, okay, I know it's about to boil over, but I'm going to stir it, I'm going to calm it down. So now you're putting attention to it, but you're getting a different reaction because as you stir it, it stops boiling over. See, so that's another good analogy. You can work on these yourself. You can also have a therapist or a psychiatrist or something work with you too, but know that yourself can really work through these things, because we all have things that affect us, and sometimes you might not realize it until you're in another similar situation and you're like, huh, why did I respond like that? And then you try to go back through your memories. Oh, that's why, that something similar happened before, and that was the outcome, and so therefore here's where I am. But if you really want to change your life and you really want things to start going differently for you, you want to look at these things. And we're not going to re-dwell on them, but we're going to work through them, because things keep coming up until you've cleared them out. And that's one that's always kind of irritated me, because I'm like, oh, why does this keep coming up? Because you're not done working through it. And you don't just want to repress things. You want to work through it, let it go. And then if it comes up again, don't get angry. Just be, okay, I guess I gotta work through this again. Work through it, let it go. Sometimes you're going to have to rinse and repeat this a few times. I mean, some things, little minor things that maybe hasn't sunk in so deep into your psyche, you clear them pretty quick. And as you get better at this, you'll probably clear things quicker, and you'll be like, wow, it feels so good. Then remember, if something traumatic happens again that's somewhat related to something else, it's going to dig in there, and you're going to have to work through it, okay? But there's that balance between, like, dwelling on it and keep blaming it, and it's difference between acknowledging it and blaming it. So you acknowledge it, know that it's real, you really have that kind of fear or whatever surrounding something, but you're not going to keep it with you forever and ever and ever and ever and keep reliving that moment, because that's not healthy. So you're going to work through it, let it go. If you have to work through it again, each time it's going to get easier. But just to say, oh, that's just the way I am because of that thing that happened 20 years ago, not even that thing that happened, my perspective of that thing that happened, my thoughts and feelings surrounding that meaning I put towards that thing that happened. This video got a little longer than I was expecting, so hopefully you hung out for the 13 minutes here. But I hope that you can think about this and think about those moments in your life that you've had that are still affecting you, that you can work through and feel better. And know that some are going to be easier to clear, some are going to take a little more time to clear, and that's okay. It's progress, and you're going to feel better along the way. So thank you for joining me today. Again, this is Susan, and I hope you check back for new videos as I continue to create them. Make it a wonderful, wonderful day, my friends.